This solution overview from Applied Group aims to highlight how aPriori is enabling discrete manufacturers to reduce their product costs. aPriori's real-time cost visibility is saving manufacturers millions by driving out cost from their products prior to production. aPriori enables you to launch new products at or below target cost, avoid overpaying for outsourced parts, maximize cost savings on redesign work, and increase the accuracy and speed of RFQ responses. As part of the overview, we'll be working with a drill motor, specifically this handle bracket. When you bring up a part for the first time in aPriori, you'll be given a new cost object dialog box. This will ask you to enter some basic information: the process used to produce the part, the virtual production environment or digital factory, the material, and your annual volumes. For the purposes of this demonstration, we'll do a prototype run, so we'll say 50 parts per year and a production life of 1 year, and then click the cost button. aPriori will now go out to the CAD model and extract the geometric cost drivers. On a side note, aPriori doesn't require CAD licenses. This part has now been analysed and its components appear just here in the breakdown. If we look for instance at the holes, aPriori will display the manufacturing process it's selected to create the holes. This top window displays costing information for the full component, including material costs, labour costs, and so on, giving us the piece part cost and the fully amortised burdened cost, which will also give us the tooling costs. We can now begin changing elements of the part and attempt to bring the cost down. So for example, we can change the material from the currently chosen steel to stainless steel. aPriori will now recalculate and give us a new cost of €7.78. As we get closer to production and we have more accurate estimates of production volumes, we can enter that information. For example, instead of selling 50 per year, marketing has told us that we expect to sell 2,000 of these parts a year, and that the production life will be 5 years. At this point, we can also set a cost target. Let's say that the designer has been given a cost target of €1.55. We apply those changes, and with the updated volumes, aPriori says that it's a €2.13 part, and it's automatically selected a different routing. aPriori now says that the most economical way of making that part is turret press and bend brake. While this is a significant saving, we're still 38% over our target cost, so we can now run aPriori in ticker mode, which keeps us informed of the full costs as we continue to design the component using its CAD model. So if we reduce the thickness from 2.6mm down to 1.85, and save that, then aPriori will notice that the part has changed. If we now hit the cost button once again, aPriori will recalculate the cost drivers and give us an updated price of €1.79, which is an improvement on the previous price of €2.13. Coming back to the main desktop, we can see that the part has been updated to reflect these changes. Our cost has now come down to 15% over target, so we can look at an alternative design using a normal steel, and we can change the factory routing to include a surface treatment. There are a number of methods available, so today we'll use a painting process, which reduces the price to €1.43. So we've achieved our target cost. We can see here that we're now 8% under the target. We can now produce a part cost report for the finished part, which lists all of the components and processes involved in producing the item, along with the accompanying costs. If we now look into the cost of a full production run by changing the quantity to 15,000, then the costs will change slightly. We now have some tooling involved, but the overall cost per part has dropped to $1.13. If we click on this tab now, we can see a detailed cost breakdown with the prices of the various tooling stations, materials, labour and design costs. To reduce the cost further, we can look at using a different virtual factory. So rather than using one in the UK, I can see what the costs would be like if we moved manufacturing to China. aPriori will now take into account not only production costs, but also the logistical cost of shipping the completed parts back from China. These costs can be quite high, but at these volumes we can still make a saving. Another thing to notice is that with labour rates being so low, aPriori has automatically selected a much more manual process. That concludes the aPriori solution overview. Thank you for your time. For further information about how aPriori can enable you to reduce your product costs, please feel free to contact us via our website at www.appliedgroup.com/apriori-intro.